I've come up with a new method for putting these bitter root 4mm double acting truss rods in my Gibson style necks, head, stock access, by simply using this jig fastened down on top of the neck. This plunge router that I just got with a bushing on the bottom, a 1/4 inch bit, and these depth gauges to set the plunge to the right depth. So this is the box I used to use for putting this slot in the neck.
You'd have to line up the end of the fretboard with the line that's on here.
Center it up. Use your centering block. Find your line on your neck. Center it with adjusting screws. And these are the blocks that protect the lid from getting marred up. So once you have that centered, then you lock it down.
So that video of this box is still out there, and you can check that out if you want. And see why I'm getting away from it and going to this method. I've already cut the slot in this neck for this truss rod. Good fit. Using this jig. But after making this one, I decided there's some changes I wanted to make. This a little longer, and I'm going to show you how I did it. So with the new plunge router that I bought, the base of this fits perfectly the bushing set that I already had. It fits in there, it's flush with the bottom. The overall length of this truss rod is 16 3/4. But for it to fit into that slot, the slot's going to have to be just slightly longer, just barely on each end, to get that to fit down in there. And when I make this jig, because I'm using a bushing that is 3/8, I had to make this slot 3/8, but I'm using a 1/4 inch bit. So my overall length of this slot is 16 15/16. This section up here has to be 1 3/4. And this one here, 1 1/8 for the adjusting wrench to fit into. So the overall length of the slot on the template is right at 17 inches. This section up here for the adjusting nut is just almost 2 inches. And then this section up here, it's 1 1/4. Now this is a 1/2 inch wide. This is a 1/2 inch wide. This is 3/8. So I'm going to set up my router fence here to be half the width of this template, which happens to be 4 1/4. So I'm going to set it up to be 2 1/8, and there's some marks on here. I'll go to 2 1/8, and I'll fasten this down, and we'll make a cut. I've got a 1/2 inch bit in the router table, and here's the sections that it needs to be wider, the 1/2 inch. And since it's already in there, that's what I'm going to go ahead and cut first. Well, funny thing, the way this router bit is made, it won't plunge through. It stops. So I'm going to start with the 3/8 bit, which the way it's made does plunge through. Okay, let's try this again with the 3/8 bit. So now I've got the 3/8 section. I can go back and do the 1/2 inch from this line to that line and from here to here. had not previously marked a center line on here, so I'm going to do so now. So now I have a center line on here that's based on the center of the slot, not the center of the board. The reason I wanted to remake this, the old one is very usable, but I redesigned this to where the end of this, when it matches the end of my blank, is going to be exactly where I want it, and I wanted it longer up on this end, so I can fasten down with screws here and here without using double-sided tape, which I could have used double-sided tape, but there's areas of this neck that are going to be removed on this side right here. This area is going to be gone, so I can drill a hole in that area. Up at this end, with the angle of the headstock, up here, I'll have plenty of room to put a screw in, and the screw hole will be right out of the way. So I know I was telling you that this section and this section of the slot needed to be 0.425 thousandths of an inch deep, and the rest of it only 0.369. Well, I made this gauge to where you set your router on top of this, and when you lower your bit and it touches the bottom, because this is a 1/2 inch thick, so this is 1/2 inch thick, I just sanded some, in my thickness sander, a couple of blocks to the right thickness and put it all together in another section for the 0.369. I'll show you how that works. So I'm going to take the plunge router. I've got the bushing in, 3/8 bushing. It's got a 1/4 inch bit in it. And I'm going to shove that down until it touches the bottom. Then I'm going to lock it in place and adjust my stop here. Yeah, adjust it right here to where it hits the stop. So when we plunge it down to that depth, that's what we're going to have right there. And I've done the same for the 0.369. So with the bushing in my router, it's a 3/8. It's going to fit perfectly in this groove. Now when it gets down here to the other end, without changing the bit, I'm going to get a wider cut. I'm going to set the plunge router up for the shallow depth first, using this gauge that I just made. Clamp this so it doesn't move on me. Now it's time to use the gauge to set it up for the deeper pass. And I just need to back this off. That should be it right there. Okay, now the deeper part only here and here. So with this new plunge router, which is great to have so I don't have to constantly be taking the router out of here, and this depth gauge and this template or jig, I can easily put the slots in my necks. It's going to simplify things so much. A lot of times you can always find a better way. One only thing left to do is the 1/4-inch hole between the wrench access and the truss rod.
Marvelous.